Hello, welcome back to another AP3 video, and in today's video we'll be going over SAT math problems, more specifically nonlinear equations in one variable and system of equations in two variables. So we'll be doing easy, medium, and hard questions as we've been doing for the previous videos. The question asks the following: the graph of a system of linear equation and a nonlinear equation is shown. What is the solution x and y to the system? What does that mean by the solution of x and y? What that basically means is, where does x and y satisfy both linear and nonlinear equation? And as we can see in the graph, there's only one point, which is over here. And as we can see, all we have to do is just determine the x and the y value to figure out what is the solution of x and y that satisfies both equations. So as we can see, our x value, or x, equals 2. Let me make this a little bit less thick. And then y equals 4. So we gotta look for an equation where we have x as 2 and y equals 4, and therefore our answer is C. Okay, let's move on to a different question. The total revenue from sales of a product can be calculated using the formula T equals PQ, where T is the total revenue, P is the price of the product, and Q is the quantity of the product sold. Which of the following equation gives the quantity of product sold in terms of P and T? So we're given the formula to calculate the sales of a product over here. So sales of a product can be calculated using T equals PQ. So let's write that in green. So T equals PQ. And we're looking for which of the following gives the quantity, or Q, a product in terms of P and T. So what we want to do, all we have to do in this question is just understand that we want to isolate Q by itself. And the way to do that is that we divide P on both sides, so P cancels out here, and then I am left off with Q equals T divided by P, and therefore my answer is B. Okay, this is a Desmos question, and you will see why. The question shows the following: which of the following is the solution to the equation 2x squared minus 4 equals x squared? So we can rewrite it as 2x squared minus 4, which equals x squared. If I subtract minus x squared on both sides, I'm left off with x squared minus 4, which equals 0. So I gotta look for a number that when I multiply it by x squared minus 4, I get 0. If I plug in 1 squared minus 4, that gives you negative 3. Negative 3 equals 0. Obviously, they don't equal, so the A is incorrect. But if I do 2 squared equals 4. 4 minus 4, which equals 0. 4 minus 4 equals 0, so 0 equals 0. Therefore, my answer is B. And if you plug it in into Desmos, so if I do 2x squared, I think it's minus 4, yeah. Whoops. 2x squared. Let me redo it. 2x squared minus 4, which equals x squared. I see I have two values, negative 2 and 2. Therefore, my answer is B. Okay, now we're moving on to the medium questions. X squared minus x minus 1 equals 0. Which value satisfies the equation above? So this can be a Desmos question, but it's better to not use Desmos, so which is why I'm going to put this in red. You can use Desmos, so can use Desmos, but better way to solve it. So there's an equation or formula called the quadratic formula, which is called negative b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. And this is the formula that we're going to be using in order to figure out our solution. So I'm giving the equation, I'll draw it in pink, of x squared, oops, now it looks very bad, x squared minus x minus 1, which equals 0. And if I look at it, that looks like a quadratic equation, which is ax squared plus bx plus c. So if I look at my a, b, and c values, I can determine that my a value equals 1, my b equals negative 1, and my c equals negative 1. So now what I have to do is plug it into the quadratic formula to see my solutions of x. So b equals -1. If I multiply that by negative, I get +1. So +1 plus minus, let me make it look a little bit more better. So then 1 plus minus square root of b squared. -1 squared equals 1. So 1 minus 4 multiplied by 1 and multiplied by -1, which just equals +4. So I'm gonna get 1 plus 4, and then divided by 2a, which equals 2. So now if I combine like terms, I'm gonna get 1 plus minus the square root of 5 divided by 2. And as we can see, the answers that contain 1 positive, the square root of 5, either plus or minus square root of 5, and 2 at the bottom is C. Therefore, C is my answer. You can use Desmos, but honestly, using quadratic formula is better. Okay, this question is indeed a Desmos question. So Desmos. But before we do anything with Desmos, of course, let's solve it algebraically so you can understand how to solve it without a calculator. So we're given an equation of x squared equals positive 6x plus y, and y equals negative 6x plus 36. And they're asking a solution to the given system of equations is x, y. Which of the following is a possible value of x multiplying y? So I'm given two equations, like we said. I'm given y equals negative 6x plus 36, and x squared equals 6x plus y. So I'm going to rewrite both equations. So I'm going to have x squared equals positive 6x plus y. And I'm going to write this in yellow. Y equals negative 6x plus 36. So what I can do is I can plug in y, that's in yellow, into the blue where y equals in order to look for x value. So if I plug in y to the first equation, I'm going to get x squared equals positive 6x minus 6x and then plus 36. All I did was just plug in y in this first equation. So 6x minus 6x just equals 0. So that cancels out, and I'm left with positive 36. So I'm get x squared equals 36. And if we do the square root on both sides, I get x equals positive or minus 6. So x can either be positive or minus 6. So x equals 6 or negative 6. And we're looking for what is the following is a possible value. So we're going to have two solutions when we multiply x and y, but we're going to have one of those solutions in the answer choice. So if I plug in 6 or negative 6 into the yellow equation where y equals negative 6x plus 36, I get y equals negative 6 multiplied by positive 6 and then plus 36, which then just equals y equals negative 36 plus 36. Therefore, y equals 0 when x equals 6. So one of my ordered pairs is 6, 0. However, if I plug in negative 6, I'm going to get y equals negative 6 multiplied by negative 6 and then positive 36. And then two negatives equals a positive, so I'm going to get y equals 36 plus 36. And that gives me y equals 72 when x equals negative 6. So my second order pair is negative 6 and then 72. So if I multiply negative 6 with positive 72, so 72 multiplied by negative 6, I'm going to get a negative number. So let me do the math really quickly. I'm going to get negative 432. And as we can see, all values are positive, and there's no value that has 400 or even 100's place. Therefore, we can use that ordered pair. But we can use 6 and 0. If I multiply 6 with 0, I get 0. So therefore, the ordered pair that works is 6 and 0. And when you multiply, one of the possible values is 0. Therefore, our answer is A. And remember, this is a Desmos question. So if I open up Desmos, let me refresh. Open up Desmos. If I refresh, I'm going to get x squared which equals 6x plus y. And if I plug the second equation of y equals negative 6x plus 36, look, if I look, it intersects at exactly 2 points, right? One over here, and 6, 0, which is the order pair that we use. And if we zoom out a lot, actually, we can see that it intersects at another point at negative 6 and 72. So therefore, because we can't use that order pair because it's not one of the solutions, our answer is A, 0. This is kind of a Desmos question, and you'll see why I say kind of. So we're given 3 parentheses, x minus 4, x plus 2, x minus 1, which equals 0. What is the product of the solutions to the given equation? So what are we looking for? The product of solutions to the given equation. So what does that mean? Basically, product of solutions basically means multiplying all the x values, or x values or solutions. You can say x values slash solutions. So this is why I say you don't, let me make this a little bit, make it like a line. So this is why I say you don't really need a calculator, or you don't even need Desmos at all. Because if you recognize that if we have parentheses of x's, we can already solve the values of each x. It's just the opposite, kind of like a circle of the equation. Therefore, my x values, as you can see when we plug it into Desmos, it'll give it to you. Our x values equals positive 4, negative 2, and positive 1. All I did was just write the opposite of what's given in the parentheses. If I just solve for x for all 3, I'm going to get positive 4, negative 2, and positive 1. And we're looking for the product of solutions. So when I multiply everything, I multiply 4, multiply by negative 2, and multiply by positive 1, which just equals negative 8, and our answer is D. So let's plug it into Desmos now, and let me show you what I mean by like Desmos won't exactly give you the answer, but what it will give you is the x-intercepts. And remember, x-intercepts is when our y value equals 0. So anytime our y value equals 0, that is exactly our x-intercept. And then vice versa, our y-intercept is when x equals 0. But in this case, we're looking for our x values. And as we can see, we see negative 2, we see positive 1, and we see positive 4, which is why I told you, like, you don't really need Desmos, but as you can see, those are our x-intercepts. And with that, now that we know our x-intercepts, we just multiply it and we will still get negative 8. Okay, this question can be a Desmos question, but before we gotta solve it original to figure it out if you can use Desmos or not. But you cannot use it before because this is a constant question. So in the x and y plane aligned with the equation 2y equals 4.5 intersects a parabola a parabola at exactly 1 point. If the parabola has an equation y equals negative 4x squared plus bx, where b is a positive constant, what is the value of b? So I'm given that there's an equation of 2y equals 4.5, which intersects at a parabola at exactly 1 point. I'm given a second equation of y equals negative 4x squared plus bx, where b is a positive constant, and we're looking for the value of b. Well, why did I specify parabola at exactly 1 point? Well, the formula that we're going to use here is called discriminant formula, or discriminant rule, depending how you want to call it. But we're going to call it discriminant formula, or discriminant rule, sorry. I don't know how to spell it, but this is how I look at it. So what is discriminant rule? It's basically where we have a quadratic equation, and we create use that to create the formula of b squared minus 4ac. Well, why is this significant? Well, if b squared minus 4ac equals 0, that means I have one solution. Or when we have when it's graphed, when graphs intersect at 1 point, when it's greater than 0, it's 2 solutions. So it intersects in the graph at 2 points. But when it's less than 0, it's no solution. And in the graph, it doesn't intersect at all. So let me rewrite the equations that I have. I have 2y, which equals 4.5. And I'm also given y, obviously y equals negative 4x squared plus bx. Let me solve for y in the beginning equation so we can plug it into the second equation. So if I do y equals 4.5, divided by 2, that gives me y equals 2.25. And now I plug that in the y value in the blue equation so we can create the quadratic equation. Well, let's look at it. If it intersects at exactly 1 point, which out of the whole discriminants are we going to be using? The one where the solution equals 0, so the one I circled. Because it intersects at 1 point, so one solution. So now let me plug in y into the blue equation. So I'm going to get 2.25 equals negative 4x squared plus bx. If I subtract 2.25 on both sides, I get 0 equals negative 4x squared plus bx minus 2.25. And as we can see, this is in a quadratic equation format, or ax squared plus bx plus c. And because it's in a quadratic equation, I can look for my a, b, and c values to use the discriminant rule. I'm going to draw it in peak. So our a value equals negative 4. Our b value equals b. And our c value equals negative 2.25. And now what I want to do now is plug it into the discriminant where it equals 0, because it intersects at exactly 1 point, to look for my positive b value. So I'm going to do b squared minus 4 multiplying by ac, which is a equals negative 4, so negative 4 multiplied by negative 2.25, which all that equals 0. So if I multiply negative 4 and then multiply negative 4, I get positive 16. And then positive 16 multiplied by negative 2.25, I get negative 36. So b squared minus 36 equals 0. So now I solve for b. So if I add 36 on both sides, I get b squared equals positive 36. If I do square root, I get b equals plus minus 6. But we're given that b is a positive constant. Therefore, our only value of b can be positive 6. So b equals 6, and that is our answer. So let's plug that into Desmos and see if it makes the statement true. So if I plug in 2y equals 4.5 and then y equals negative 4x squared plus 6x, which 6 equals b, I see it intersects at exactly 1 point when x equals 0.75 and when y equals 2.25. Therefore, when b equals 6 intersects at 1 point, which satisfies the question and the equation for it to intersect at exactly 1 point. Okay, just like we did in the previous question, let's use the quadratic formula to look for our x value to the solution. This is a Desmos question, but I would recommend it. So I'm just no Desmos. Makes your life a lot easier. So I'm given 2x squared minus 2x equals 2x plus 3. Which of the following is a solution to the equation above? So I have 2x squared minus 2, which equals 2x plus 3. Sounds like a tongue twister, honestly. So let's move everything to the left side so we have a quadratic equation, so we can use the quadratic formula to look for our x solution. So if I minus 2x and minus 3 on both sides, I'm going to get 2x squared minus 2x and then minus 5, which equals 0. And our a value equals 2. Our b value equals negative 2. And our c value equals negative 5. Now let's plug that into the quadratic equation. So, which is, I'm just going to rewrite it for reference. Negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. So now let's plug that. Negative multiplied by negative 2, I get positive 2. So positive 2 plus minus square root of negative b squared, which equals positive 4, multiplied by negative 4 with positive 2, and then with negative 5, which will give me, we'll do it right now, and then 2a, a equals 2, then 2 multiplied by 2 equals 4. So we simplify, I get 2 plus minus, we simplify the square root, negative 4 multiplied by 2 equals negative 8, and then negative 8 multiplied by negative 5, I am going to get I'm gonna get negative 40. Yeah, positive 40, I'm sorry. So we're gonna get positive 40, and then positive 40 multiplied, positive 40 multiplied by 4, I'm gonna get positive 88, and then divided by 4. So now what I want to do, I'm gonna rewrite over here, 2 plus minus square root square root of 88 divided by 4. So now what I want to do is that I can simplify square root of 88 by looking for a number that I can simplify in order to get the square root of 88, make it easier and simpler, so I can divide stuff as the answer is shown in the multiple choice. So we can use 2. So if I can write 2 plus minus 2 square root of 11, which equals 4. And if I divide everything by 2, I am going to get 1 plus minus square root of 11 divided by 2. So if I look at the answers, the only one that can work is T. Okay, this is a lot of information. So let's read everything, take our time, and understand what we're asking for. So D equals T minus 9 divided by 25, parentheses 100 minus H. So the formula above can be used to approximate the dew point D in degrees Fahrenheit given the temperature T in degrees Fahrenheit and the relative humidity of H %, where H is greater than 50. Which of the following expresses the relative humidity in terms of temperature and the dew point? So I'm given a formula of D, which is degrees Fahrenheit, equals T, which is temperature in degrees Fahrenheit, minus 29 divided by 25, parentheses 100 minus H, which is the relative humidity. So I'm going to rewrite that in blue. So I'm going to get D equals T minus 9 divided by 25 over, parentheses 100 minus H. And as we can see, we are looking for which the following expresses the humidity in terms of temperature and dew point. So with every information given, we want to isolate H. So that's the goal. We want to isolate H. So what can we do? Well, we can move the temperature on the left side. So if we subtract temperature, or T, on both sides, these two cancel out, and I'm left with D minus T equals negative 9 divided by 25, parentheses 100 minus H. What we want to do now is multiply the negative 29 divided by 25 on the left side, so we're left with 100 minus H. So H is as simplified as much as it can, so we can solve for H. So if we multiply negative 25 divided by 9 on both sides, and then multiply on this side by negative 25 divided by 9, these two cancel out, and on the right side I'm just left with 100 minus H, and on the right side I get negative 25 divided by 9, parentheses D minus T. So let me take out the parentheses in the hundreds place, or like the 100 minus H. So I can subtract 100 on both sides. So if I subtract minus 100, I get, let me write over here, negative 25 divided by 9, parentheses D minus T minus 100, which equals negative H. So we have H. Is this the answer? No. Realize how in the multiple choice, H is positive. So we want to multiply everything by negative on both sides. So negative H multiplied by negative, and this whole expression on the left side multiplied by negative. So negative H multiplied by negative equals positive H. So I'm going to get H equals, and negative 25 divided by 9 multiplied by negative, I am going to get positive 25 divided by 9, parentheses D minus T, and then plus 100. Now you might be asking, why does the D minus T not change? Because if I were to multiply the negative here to here, I'm going to get negative D plus T. But because I have another negative and I multiplied over here, I'm going to get the same thing of what's in parentheses. Therefore, I'm still going to be left off with D minus T on the parentheses. So my answer will be, you look at the answer choices, my answer will be C. No, I lie. The answer choice that is correct, oops, that is my bad. It is going to be A. Okay, so this is a decimals question, but as always, let's do it regular to look for the answer. So I'm given two equations, y equals x squared plus 3x minus 7, and y minus 5x plus 8 equals 0. And they're asking us how many solutions are there to the system of equations above. Okay, so I'm given two equations. I'm given y equals x squared plus 3x minus 7, and I am given y minus 5x plus 8 equals 0. So I'm going to rewrite what's in blue. Oops. So y equals x squared plus 3x minus 7. And I'm going to rewrite what's in green, but I'm going to solve for y, which would equal y equals 5x minus 8. So I'm going to plug that into the blue equation to get 0 equals a quadratic equation. So 5x minus 8 equals x squared plus 3x minus 7. And if I plug that in, I'm going to get 0 equals x squared minus 2x and then plus 1. Now, notice something really quickly. I'm given a quadratic equation. Because I have a quadratic equation and it equals 0, I can determine that this is exactly one solution. Therefore, our answer is C, because of the discriminant rule. If I were to plug in b squared minus 4ac, it should equal 0. So let's make sure that's true. So remember, discriminant rule, I'm going to write dr, is b squared minus 4ac, and when it equals 0, there's one solution. So now that we know it's one solution, let's plug it in and find our ABC values to make sure that it equals 0. So our A value equals 1, B equals -2, and C equals 1. So I plug it into discriminant rule. -2 to the power of 2 equals 4, then minus 4ac. So 4 multiplied by +1 and +1, and it equals 0 because it's one solution. I'm going to get 4 minus 4, which equals 0. And if 4 minus 4 equals 0, I get 0 equals 0. Therefore, it is exactly one solution. So our answer is C. But if we plug that into Desmos, because always we want to double, triple check everything, I'm going to get y equals x squared plus 3x minus 7. And if I do y minus 5x plus 8 equals 0, look at that. If I zoom in, it intersects at exactly 1 point, which is 1.6. Therefore, the answer is C. This will be the last question, and it's another discriminant rule at exactly 1 point. This is another Desmos question. I don't know why they're all exactly 1 point, but they are. But it's important to know how they work, and then as time progresses on, I'll pick one that says greater than 2 or even no solution. So in the given equation, C is a constant. The equation has exactly one solution. What is the value of C? So this is another discriminant rule. So our A value, this is simple. Now that we know how to use it, our A value equals -16. Our B value equals -8. And our C value equals C. So let's plug it into b squared minus 4ac. So b squared equals 64. Then minus 4 multiplying -16 with C, which equals 0. So if I were to multiply 4 times 16, I'm going to get 64. So I'm going to get positive 64 actually. So 64 plus 64c, which equals 0. So if I subtract 64 on both sides, minus 64 and minus 64, I'm going to get 64 equals -64. So wait, positive 64c, sorry. And if we divide 64 on both sides, I get c equals -1. And that is indeed our answer. So c equals -1. And if you plug that into Desmos, you will get the point has exactly one solution. And that is our answer. This is the end of the video. Thank you for watching.